Welcome back to Extreme Powerhouse. Today we have something special for all BMW G80 and G82 owners. We're unboxing, installing, and reviewing the H&R VTF adjustable lowering springs and MAD BMW G chassis wheel spacer kit. First up are the H&R lowering springs. These springs are adjustable, allowing you to tailor the ride height to your specific taste. Whether you want a more aggressive look or improved handling, these springs are designed for performance enthusiasts. Next up are the MAD BMW wheel spacers. We'll be using the 12mm spacers in the front and the 15mm spacers in the rear. As you can see, this kit is sold with 10 bolts. These spacers are more than just easy on the eye, they provide better stability and handling by widening the track of the vehicle. The quality here is top-notch, made to fit perfectly with the G chassis. And the inclusion of the bolts ensures that you have everything you need for an easy installation. Together, these parts are not just about enhancing the look of your BMW, they're about elevating its performance, providing the customized feel, and ensuring a ride that's tailored to you. Choosing proven brands like H&R and MAD is essential for a perfect fit and a future free of complications. By selecting these trusted names, you're investing in quality and reliability, and the best part about that is that both of these brands are reasonably priced. Alright guys, we're here for the install. So once again, we're here for the H&R lowering springs and the MAD wheel spacer kit for the G80 and G82. So follow me and let's get to it. So today's install will be on a brand new 2023 BMW M3. guys, as promised, we're here for the install. I'm going to be giving you a couple tips on what to do during this process. Okay, remove either end of the front sway bar link with a 16mm wrench or some type of torque. Okay, next we're going to disconnect the height adjuster arm. This will be on the driver's side only. Once that's done, you're going to remove all the wires, which is going to include the ABS sensor, the brake pad sensor, stuff like that. Okay, and the brake line from their mounting attachments. And you make sure you know where those are routed so that you can have an easier time putting everything back together. So up next is going to be under the hood. You're going to make sure to remove the plastic covers covering the strut and disconnect the EDC connector. Okay, once that's done, you're going to remove the 18mm nut holding the strut to the upper mount. Once that's done, you're going to slowly and carefully lower the front knuckle or raise the body if you're working on a lift, while holding or supporting the strut assembly. It's pretty useful to have a helper here do this with you because it's a pretty heavy product. Okay, you want to lower it as much as possible or until it stops. So slowly and carefully swing the strut assembly out of the fender. Personally, I like to hold the top of the strut to make sure it doesn't, contact the fender, but it's up to you. As long as it works, do your thing. Okay, so now it's time to install the new springs. Okay, so you can replace the spring by removing the rubber foot and bump stop and place the new spring onto the strut. So you want to make sure you line up the end positioning with the mark that the previous spring made. Put the rubber boot and bump stop back in. Okay, and then before you finish, just check and confirm the orientation of the spring. Once you have the lowering spring and everything back in, carefully swing the strut assembly back under the car. Okay, support the knuckle by the control arm. Slowly compress the strut while lining up the top and ensure the strut shaft is centered and goes through the strut mount and comes out on top. You're going to put the 18mm nut back on. Now you can choose to torque it now, or you could just snug it up and torque it to the spec when the wheels are back on the ground. Okay. Okay, so this is where everything comes full circle. You're going to reattach the sway bar end link and all the wires, which includes the EDC connector like I was talking about earlier, okay, the height adjuster and the brake line. Now it's time to install the spacer. Place the spacer on the factory hub. The spacer should sit flush with the brake rotor. If there is any gap between the brake rotor and the spacer, even if it's small, do not use the spacer. Please be sure to check this. You shouldn't even be able to slide a piece of paper behind the spacer after you put it on the factory hub. Align the holes on the wheel spacer with the bolt holes on the car. You can use a wheel pin tool if you have one to aid you in the install, but if you don't, you can just eyeball it, which is what our technician did. After that, you're going to put the wheel on top of the spacer. Use the correct length extended bolts that came with the spacers. Each spacer width has specific length bolts. Be sure not to mix them up if you have multiple spacer kits. If you have a torque wrench to tighten the lug bolts, you are free to do so at this moment. If not, you can always just drill them in like our tech just did.
transfer opened in half.